All right, we're starting our next unit. It is on ratios. So you need to make sure that you have your notes out, and as we go along and you watch the video, you should be taking notes as you go along, and I will be looking at those notes when I come back. All right, so let's first just talk about what a ratio is. A ratio is simply a comparison of two quantities. Okay, so go ahead and write that on your notes. It is comparison. And the root word there is comparing. So we're comparing two things. We're comparing two things. So if you look at my picture here, obviously we're looking at two things here, and actually it can be more than two things, but at least two quantities, at least two things. So if you look at this picture, what am I comparing here? So I have pencils and I have paper clips. That's what I'm comparing. Okay, so if you think about it, a ratio can be written three different ways. So if you count my pencils, I have two pencils, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paper clips. So a ratio can be written as, it looks like a fraction. It can be written with a colon. So 2 to 6, I can write it like this, 2 to 6, that's a colon. Or the other way, it can be written with the word two. So these are the three different ways you can write a ratio. Okay, you can write it where it looks like a fraction. You can write it with a colon in between the two numbers, 2 to 6. Or you can use the word two. Okay, so go ahead and write that down. So if we wanted to simplify it, we could simplify a ratio. So both of these could be divided by 2, and I could simplify it to 1/3, 1 to 3, or 1 to 3. All right, so when we simplify it, we would say for every one pencil, there would be 3 paper clips. Okay? All right, so that's a ratio. So it's basically just, it's kind of like fractions, guys. You're just sitting there and counting it up and figuring out what you are looking at. Okay, so the one thing you do need to know about is if I say for every one there's a 1 to 3 ratio, that 1 needs to represent my pencils, the 3 represents my paperclip. The order that we say things is important, so that'll make sense in just a second, I think. All right, so when we talk about ratios, we are going to most specifically right now look at a part-to-part ratio and a part-to-whole. Unit rate is another ratio that we're going to come back to, but right now we're just going to look at these two. All right, so this again is on your notes. So part-to-part. So if you notice, I have all of these symbols here. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out what is the ratio of triangles to x's. Triangles to x's. So I simply need to count my triangles first because that's what it asked for first. So 1, 2, 3 triangles, 2, and then my x's, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have a 3 to 6 ratio. You could have written it this way, you could have written it as a fraction, or you could have written it with a colon. Either way, okay? Now, hopefully some of you see, well, I could simplify that. So if I simplify my 3 to 6, I could divide them both by 3, and I get a 1 to 2 ratio. So let's see if we can figure out what that means. So a 1 triangle to every 2 x's. 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 Yep, that simplifies. Okay, let's look at the next one. So the next one says part to whole. So what is the ratio of arrows to all shapes? You kind of want to look for that word two. That's kind of telling you the two things that we're comparing. Arrows to all shapes. So my arrows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 arrows, 2, and then it says to all shapes. So I have to count everything, including the arrows, because the arrows are part of my shapes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 to 14. 5 to 14. Okay? Just like if I were going to write a fraction of arrows to shapes, if I were going to write arrows to shapes, it's still 5 arrows out of all the shapes. So that looks like a fraction. Okay? All right, let's do a couple more here. You don't have this on your notes page, but you can. I want you to do a couple of these examples. All right, so you're going to pause the video and do a couple of them. Let's look at this. So we're going to write ratios. It says to write it in 3 ways. We're just going to write it in 1 way. So ice cream cones to cherries. So ice cream to cherries. So I would need to count my ice cream cones first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 ice creams, 2, and then my cherries. There's 1 set, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of cherries to 6 sets. Okay, if you put 12 there, I guess you could because there's 2 of them for each one. Okay, let's see. Why don't you do those 2? All right, so do 2 and 3. Just pause the video and count them and see if you come up with the same answers that I get. Okay, pause the video. All right, check your answers. See if you got the same thing that I did. Hopefully I did not miscount anything. Okay. All right, so I think you have the idea. Let me look at, let's look at this one, number 7 here. This is a tricky one here. So if you read number 7, it says cherries and cupcakes to jelly beans. Cherries and cupcakes to jelly beans. I'm going to get rid of everything. Here we go. So look for that word to. Look for that word to. Okay. So if you notice over here, it says cherries and cupcakes. So that means I need to figure out my cherries and my cupcakes together and compare those to my jelly beans and donuts together. So cherries and cupcakes. So, and let's just say sets of cherries. Here we go. So cupcakes and cherries. 1, 2, 3. I'm forgetting what I'm doing. 4, 5. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7. Okay, now my cherries. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, I hope I didn't miss any. Ooh, 11, 12. I missed one there. 12. Okay, hopefully I got all of them. So 12, 2, and then my jelly beans and donuts. Okay, jelly beans and donut. I know there's only 1 jelly beans. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 7. Okay, so always look for that word to. That's what you're comparing. If there is something that says an and, that means you need to add those 2 together. Okay, all right, let's move on. All right, so these are on your notes. Let's see if you can do them by yourself then. So let's see, what is the ratio of dogs to cats? So the order matters. So you have to count your dogs first, then your cats. So that would be for 8, 12 dogs, 2 in my cats, 9. Okay, so that's a part to part. Then when I look here, what is the ratio of cats to animals? Animals means all of them, all of them. So my cats were 3, 6, 9 cats. To animals is everything. So I know there were 12 dogs and 9 cats. So altogether, there's 21. Okay. All right, you do this next one by yourself. What is the ratio of circles to stars? And what is the ratio of green circles to total shapes? You need to look on my paper here to see which ones are greens. It's not colored on yours. All right, check your answers. Okay, I just counted them as I went. I marked them off as I went. Okay. All right, let's look at the next one. In a word problem here. Several students named their favorite flavor of gum. Write the ratio that compares the number who chose fruit to total. Okay, you look for that word to. That's what we're comparing, fruit to total. So, simply go down, look at fruit. So 3, 2, and then it says total, so that means you need to add up everything, including the fruit, because that is part of my gum. That's part. So that would be 10, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21. So 3 to 21. All right. So if I wanted to simplify it here, 3 out of 21, that means I can divide them both by 3 here. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. So 1 out of every, divide by 3, 1 out of every 7 person prefers fruit-flavored gum. Okay? All right, you try the next one by yourself. Try the next one by yourself. Okay, I'll read it. The Monday's yogurt sales are recorded in the table. Write the ratio that compares the sales of strawberry yogurt to total sales. So strawberry to total. Okay, you pause the video and you do it. All right, you should have got 8 to 21. And then if I want to simplify it, always simplify and see if we can divide this number by itself. If we can divide it by both of them by this number. So I'm going to divide them both by 8. So 8 divided by 8 is 1. And 24 divided by 8 would be 3. So 1 out of every 3 yogurts sold were strawberry. That makes sense to me. I would think strawberry is probably the most popular. Okay? All right, let's turn your paper over. And let's look at this. Let's see, do you remember from elementary school what this is called? This is called a line plot, or a dot plot, sometimes we'll call it. You could even have dots here instead of X's. In this case, we just have X's. Okay? Each one of these X's means something. So let's read the situation here. A t-shirt manufacturing company surveyed teenage girls on their favorite color of shirts to guide the company's decision on how many of each colored shirt they should design. Okay? So this is what this is. These are all t-shirt colors. These are all t-shirt colors. Each of these is somebody said that was their favorite color. So one person said red was their favorite. 1, 2, 3, 4 people said blue were their favorite, and so on. Okay? The nice thing about a line plot is it kind of shows you the shape of the data, and you can very easily see that the white t-shirt was the favorite. Okay? You can very easily see that red was the least favorite. Okay? So we're going to ask some questions based on this. All right. So we're going to describe a relationship in the context of this survey. Where the ratio would be a 3 to 4. Can you find something that it would be 3 to 4? Remember, your first color would have to be something of 3. Your second color would have to be 4. Can you find that? Okay, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to look for something that has 3. Well, I can see orange right here. So something that describes a 3 to 4 relationship would be the orange, 2, and then something that has 4, I can choose here. I've got a couple, so I'm going to choose blue. Orange to blue has a 3 to 4 ratio. Okay? Could have also done some adding up here. I could have said red and green to yellow. Okay, remember here's that word 2, so everything on this side, red and green together, added up to 3, and my yellow was 4. So that all has a relationship of 3 to 4. Okay, you can put any of those for 1 and 2. All right. All right, let's look at the next part. This is kind of, we're getting there. All right, so the next one, this is all questions where you're going to read the description and you're going to write the ratio. You can simply read the directions here, or you can go back and look at the picture. I actually think you have enough just to read it here. Okay, this says for every 7 white t-shirts they manufactured, they should manufacture 4 yellow t-shirts. So what is the number of white t-shirts to yellow? Ooh, see that word to? So white to yellow. White to yellow. You can look in the wording, white to yellow. You can simply look at it right there. Or you can go back, white t-shirts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, to yellow, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? I think it's just easier to do it here. All right, so why don't you pause the video, take some time to go through and read these. Remember, when I say pause the video, it means you pause it and you do the work, okay? Pause it and come back with your answers. All right, check your answers. Remember, I put 2 in all of these. You could have written them as a fraction, or you could have used the colon, okay? Or you could have used the colon, either one. The only ones that were tricky to this one. So a white t-shirt to girls who liked a colored t-shirt, so that means everything but the white. So I just subtracted the white colors, okay? And then this one down here, we were looking at blue and green compared to pink or red, okay? Those are the only ones. All right, let's look at the last 2 word problems. At a 6th grade dance, there's 132 boys, 89 girls, and 14 adults. So go ahead and do the ratio of those 2. Actually, why don't you go through and do all of these. Pause the video and come back when you have your answers. All right, take a look at those. All right, I'm going to look at this one and the rest of them when I come back. So make sure that your notes page is completed, and you are going to, once it's completed, you're going to move on to your independent work. All right, if you have questions on that, make sure and ask me, and have a great day.